The giant silver spaceship of the Nulveri hovered above Earth's orbital station. Captain Park stood tall, his broad shoulders square and his face stern as he watched the alien vessel through the viewing window. Beside him, Ambassador Kim adjusted her formal uniform, her confident smile hiding her nervousness. "They're ready for us," said Dr. Lee, looking up from his tablet. "The Nulveri have sent docking instructions." Captain Park nodded. "Everyone remember the plan. We represent all of humanity today." The 5-person team had been carefully selected for this first official meeting with the Nulveri. The aliens had appeared in Earth's solar system 3 months ago, their technology far beyond human capabilities. After careful communication, this meeting was arranged. Han stood quietly at the back of the group. He was small compared to Captain Park, and his thin frame made him look weak. While the others carried themselves with obvious importance, Han seemed almost invisible. His simple scientist uniform hung loosely on his body, and he clutched his research tablet to his chest. "Han, try to look more confident," Ambassador Kim whispered. "The Nulveri respect strength." Han nodded but said nothing. His eyes, however, missed nothing as they boarded the shuttle to the Nulveri ship. When the airlock opened, the humans got their first close look at the Nulveri. The aliens stood over 7 feet tall, with silvery skin that reflected light like metal. Their 4 arms ended in hands with 6 fingers each. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and their eyes were large and completely black. "Welcome, humans," said the largest Nulveri, stepping forward. "I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Nulveri Empire." Ambassador Kim stepped forward. "We bring greetings from Earth. I am Ambassador Kim, and this is Captain Park of our Defense Forces, Dr. Lee, our Chief Engineer, Dr. Su, our Medical Expert, and Han, our Xenobiologist." Commander Vex's black eyes moved over each human, lingering on Captain Park's impressive build before briefly glancing at Han. The alien's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. "The famous humans," Commander Vex said. "We have heard stories of your species from other galactic races. They say you are adaptable and clever, though physically limited." Captain Park's jaw tightened, but Ambassador Kim spoke smoothly. "Each species has its strengths. We look forward to learning about yours." The Nulveri led them through corridors of gleaming metal to a large meeting room. Along the way, Han quietly observed everything. How the ship was built, how the Nulveri moved, the symbols on the walls. While the others focused on appearing strong and confident, Han simply watched and remembered. In the meeting room, the Nulveri displayed holographic images of their empire, hundreds of planets across many star systems. "We have brought peace and order to this sector of the galaxy," Commander Vex said proudly. "Perhaps humans would benefit from our protection." "Earth manages its own protection," Captain Park said firmly. Commander Vex's 4 arms made a complex gesture. "Of course, but the galaxy can be dangerous for younger species." Throughout the meeting, Han said almost nothing. When he finally spoke to ask about Nulveri biology, his voice was so soft that Commander Vex had to lean forward to hear him. "Is this truly one of your chosen representatives?" Commander Vex asked Ambassador Kim, pointing at Han. "He seems insufficient." Before Ambassador Kim could answer, Han looked directly into the alien's black eyes. "I am simply curious about your people, Commander. Knowledge is valuable to humans." Commander Vex laughed, a strange clicking sound. "Knowledge without strength to use it is worthless. I will remember which of you humans are worth watching." His eyes moved to Captain Park, and then back to Han with obvious dismissal. Han lowered his eyes respectfully, but not before a strange expression crossed his face, something between amusement and calculation. If Commander Vex had known humans better, he might have recognized the look of a predator assessing its prey. The first contact had begun, and already the Nulveri had made their first mistake. "The tests will begin now," Commander Vex announced on the second day. The human delegation stood in a large empty room with metal walls. We must know your capabilities before we can decide if humans are worthy allies. Captain Park stepped forward. What kind of tests? Commander Vex made a gesture, and a section of the wall slid open. Physical combat, mental challenges, technological understanding, and biological compatibility, all standard procedure. The first test was combat training. Captain Park excelled, his military training evident as he faced off against Nulvari training robots. Even the Nulvari guards looked impressed when he disabled 3 attackers using Earth fighting techniques. Ambassador Kim showed her worth in the diplomatic simulations, navigating complex scenarios with skill that earned reluctant nods from the Nulvari officials. Dr. Lee surprised the aliens with his quick understanding of their technology, fixing a broken device faster than their own engineers could have. Dr. Su demonstrated impressive medical knowledge, correctly diagnosing alien diseases from just symptoms and biological data. Then came Han's turn. The Nulvari placed him in a simple strength test, moving heavy objects from one side of the room to another. Han struggled. His thin arms shook as he tried to lift what the Nulvari considered light weights. Sweat ran down his face as he managed to move only 2 objects in the time Captain Park could have moved 20. Pathetic, one Nulvari guard whispered to another. Why bring such a weak specimen? Han heard but showed no reaction. When he finally finished, breathing hard, Commander Vex shook his head. Perhaps the xenobiologist should stick to his data tablets. The next test involved understanding alien biology. Here, the Nulvari expected all humans to fail. Their biological systems were complex and unlike anything on Earth. Dr. Su did reasonably well, identifying basic organ structures. But when Han stepped up to the holographic display showing Nulvari anatomy, something changed. His fingers flew over the display, reorganizing the biological systems with surprising speed. Your circulatory system connects to neural pathways here, and here, he said quietly, pointing. And these are not waste processing organs as labeled, but secondary oxygen processors for high-stress situations. The Nulvari scientist running the test froze, her 4 hands suddenly still. How did you know that? Han looked up, his eyes clear and focused. The pigmentation patterns on Commander Vex's skin changed when he was angry yesterday. That suggests emotional responses affect blood flow differently than in humans. From there, I made educated guesses based on known xenobiology principles. Commander Vex stepped closer, looking at Han with new interest. You observed my skin changes. I observe everything, Han said simply. The commander studied him for a moment, then seemed to dismiss his concern. Knowledge of our biology is useless without strength to use it. The physical weakness of humans remains your greatest limitation. Later, in their shared quarters, Captain Park paced angrily. They're testing us like animals, he said. They're assessing threats, Han replied, making notes on his tablet. They want to know if we're dangerous. Ambassador Kim frowned. And what conclusion will they reach? That Captain Park is physically impressive but predictable. That you, Ambassador, are clever with words. That our doctors and engineers understand technology well. Han didn't look up from his tablet. And that I am no threat at all. Dr. Su noticed something in Han's voice. You sound pleased about that. Han finally looked up, and for a brief moment, the others saw something unexpected in his eyes. A cold, calculating intelligence that hadn't been there before. Being underestimated can be useful, he said softly. I've learned more about the Nulvari in 2 days than they realize. Their arrogance blinds them. What have you learned? Captain Park asked. Han's fingers tapped his tablet, encrypting his notes. Enough to know we should be careful. These tests aren't just to evaluate us as allies. He looked at each of them in turn. They're deciding if we're worth keeping alive. The morning of the 5th day started like the others. The human delegation ate breakfast together in their shared quarters, discussing the day's planned activities. Today we tour their main research facility, Ambassador Kim said, checking her schedule. Then signed the preliminary friendship agreement. Captain Park nodded. After that, we can finally go home. I don't trust these aliens. Han said nothing, but his eyes watched the door. When it opened, he was the only one not surprised to see 20 armed Nulvari guards instead of their usual escort. Humans, the lead guard announced. Commander Vex requests your presence immediately. They were led not to the meeting room, but to a large chamber they hadn't seen before. Commander Vex stood at its center, surrounded by important-looking Nulvari. Our assessment is complete, Commander Vex announced without greeting. Humans are officially classified as a Class 3 species, physically inferior but with useful biological traits. What does that mean? Ambassador Kim asked, her voice steady despite her concern. Commander Vex's mouth formed that strange, cold smile. It means you are now property of the Nulvari Empire. Your planet will be harvested for resources, and selected humans will serve the Empire. Captain Park stepped forward, fists clenched. Earth will never. He couldn't finish before 2 guards grabbed him. The delegation watched in horror as all of them except Han were fitted with metal collars. These will prevent escape attempts, Commander Vex explained. They can deliver pain or death if activated. Han stood quietly, seemingly forgotten until a guard noticed him. What about this small one? Commander Vex waved dismissively. Put him in the research labs. He's too weak to be a threat but might be useful helping our scientists understand human biology. The humans were separated. Captain Park, Ambassador Kim, and Dr. Lee were taken to secure cells. Dr. Su was sent to the medical bay to assist Nulvari doctors. Han was escorted to a research lab and introduced to his supervisor, a female Nulvari scientist named Dr. Mira. You will assist me in studying human biological responses, Dr. Mira told Han. Consider yourself fortunate. The others will face more difficult work. Han kept his eyes down. I understand. Thank you for the opportunity to continue my scientific work. Dr. Mira seemed surprised by his calm acceptance. You are not angry at becoming our subject. I am a scientist first, Han said softly. The chance to work in an advanced alien lab is interesting. Something in his tone made Dr. Mira study him more closely, but she said nothing more. Over the next 3 days, the humans learned the true nature of the Nulvari. The aliens saw other species as resources to be used, not equals. Captain Park tried to escape twice, earning punishment for all the humans, except Han, who remained in the labs, seemingly forgotten by Commander Vex. In the lab, Han worked quietly, following Dr. Mira's instructions perfectly. He asked thoughtful questions about Nulvari biology that impressed her. Gradually, she allowed him more access to the lab equipment and databases. You are different from the other humans, Dr. Mira told him on the 3rd day. They fight uselessly against their fate. You adapt. Han looked up from the microscope he was using. Fighting is not always the best response. Sometimes watching and waiting is better. Waiting for what? She asked. Han's face showed nothing. For understanding. Each day I learn more about Nulvari biology, your ship systems, your security protocols. Knowledge has its own power. Dr. Mira laughed. Knowledge without strength to use it is worthless. Commander Vex says this often. Yes, Han agreed, his eyes returning to the microscope. That is why you underestimate us. That night, when the lab was empty, Han carefully removed a panel under his workstation. Hidden inside was a small collection of vials containing different colored liquids. He added a new one, labeled it carefully in Korean characters, and replaced the panel. His face, when he stood up, was no longer that of a meek scientist. His eyes were cold and focused, his mouth set in a determined line. The weakest human was not weak at all. 2 weeks had passed since the betrayal. Captain Park sat in his cell, staring at the wall. His latest escape attempt had failed, and the punishment had been severe. The door opened, and a guard pushed Dr. Su inside. You have 10 minutes, the guard said. Dr. Su waited until the guard left before speaking. Han sent me. Captain Park looked up in surprise. Han. Is he still alive? More than alive, Dr. Sue said quietly. He has a plan. But first, he asked me to check your health. As Dr. Sue examined the captain's wounds, she whispered, Han isn't what he seems. He told me to tell you he's working on our escape. Captain Park frowned. Han, the weak scientist. Dr. Sue's eyes flashed with anger. Han isn't weak. He fooled all of us. Before this mission, he worked for Korean military intelligence. His specialty was biological warfare. What? That's impossible. I reviewed everyone's records. His real records were sealed, Dr. Sue explained. He was chosen for this mission specifically because he appears harmless. Meanwhile, in the research lab, Han worked beside Dr. Mira. Over the past 2 weeks, he had become her favorite assistant. His questions were intelligent, his work precise, and his manner always respectful. The human containment system is inefficient, Han said casually as they examined cell samples. If you connected these monitoring systems differently, you could reduce personnel needs by 30%. Dr. Mira looked at him with curiosity. You would help us improve the system that imprisons your own people. Han shrugged. Science is science. Efficiency is logical. Dr. Mira studied him. I will mention your suggestion to security. It might earn you better treatment. When she left to deliver her report, Han quickly accessed her computer terminal. His fingers moved rapidly over the alien controls, copying data about Nulveri communication systems. He finished just before she returned. That evening, Han was allowed to visit Ambassador Kim, who had been moved to a larger cell after agreeing to help translate human language patterns. Once alone, Han spoke rapidly. The Nulveri have a weakness. Their hierarchical command structure relies on neural implants that connect leaders to subordinates. Ambassador Kim stared at him. How do you know this? I've been studying their biology and technology. Dr. Mira trusts me now. She leaves me alone with sensitive data. Han took a small device from his pocket and slipped it to her. Hide this. It will allow us to communicate securely. Why are they letting you move around so freely? She asked. Because I'm the weak one, Han said with a small smile. The one no one fears. Back in his small quarters, Han carefully mixed chemicals he had stolen from the lab. The clear liquid that resulted looked like water but wasn't. He stored it in a container marked drinking water in Korean. The next day, Dr. Mira introduced Han to another Nulveri scientist. This is Dr. Kell, our expert on neural systems, she said. He wants to ask you about human brain function. Han bowed slightly. I would be happy to help, though my specialty is more general biology. Dr. Kell looked at Han with obvious disgust. Is this really necessary? Using such a weak specimen. He is surprisingly knowledgeable, Dr. Mira defended. And cooperative. As they talked about human neural pathways, Han asked innocent questions about Nulveri brain function. Each answer gave him more understanding of their greatest vulnerability. Later that night, Han met secretly with Dr. Sue in a maintenance corridor. I've examined the collar technology, he told her. I can disable them, but we need to coordinate perfectly. Captain Park wants to fight our way out, Dr. Sue said. Han shook his head. That would fail. The Nulveri are physically stronger and outnumber us. We need to be smarter. He showed her a small vial. This compound will temporarily disrupt their neural network. When that happens, their entire command structure will collapse. Dr. Sue looked at Han with new respect. You planned for this from the beginning, didn't you? Even before we knew they would betray us. Han's eyes were cold and determined. Always plan for the worst. That's how the weakest survive. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the stars. A large Nulveri battlecruiser had just appeared on their scanners. The transport ship will arrive in 6 hours, his second-in-command reported. They will take the humans to the homeworld for further study. Vex nodded. Prepare the humans for transport. Especially the strong one, Captain Park. The breeding program will benefit from his genetics. In the research lab, Han overheard this conversation through a small listening device. he had planted weeks ago. His face showed no emotion as he continued his work, but his mind raced with calculations. The timeline had moved up. They needed to act now. Dr. Mira entered the lab, excitement visible in her movements. Han, I have wonderful news. The High Council has approved my request. You will come to our homeworld as my personal research assistant. Han looked up, his face showing perfect surprise and gratitude. That is a great honor, Dr. Mira. Thank you for your trust in me. You have earned it, she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Your insights into biochemical interactions have advanced my research significantly. Han bowed his head. I am glad to be useful. When Dr. Mira left to prepare the transfer documents, Han quickly accessed her computer. The files he found confirmed his worst fears. The Nulvari weren't just studying humans. They planned to harvest human genetic material to enhance their own species. Earth would be strip-mined for resources, and most humans would be eliminated. Han worked quickly, downloading crucial information to a small device hidden in his sleeve. Then he carefully mixed a chemical compound and added it to the lab's air filtration system. Later that day, Han was allowed to visit Dr. Lee, who had been forced to work on Nulvari technology upgrades. They're moving us to their homeworld tomorrow, Han whispered. We must act tonight. Dr. Lee looked skeptical. How? The guards watch us constantly. Han slipped him a small device. This will disable your collar when the time comes. I've already given similar devices to the others. He explained his plan quickly. Dr. Lee shook his head. This is insane. It will never work. It will work because they don't expect it, Han said. They think humans will try to fight directly. They don't understand our true strength. That evening, Ambassador Kim requested a meeting with Commander Vex to discuss cooperation terms. While the commander was distracted, Han accessed the ship's environmental controls and introduced a subtle change to the air mixture in the Nulvari quarters. Back in his small room, Han prepared the final components of his plan. He had collected samples from each area of the ship, analyzed Nulvari biological weaknesses, and created compounds that would target them specifically. A soft knock at his door surprised him. It was Dr. Mira. I wanted to make sure you're prepared for tomorrow's journey, she said, entering his room. Han quickly covered his work. Yes, of course. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Dr. Mira moved closer, studying his face. You've been different today. More focused. Han forced a smile. Just excited about seeing your homeworld. She reached out suddenly, grabbing his arm and revealing the hidden device in his sleeve. Her eyes widened. What is this? For the first time, Han let his mask slip. His eyes turned cold, his posture straightened, and his voice lowered. Insurance. Dr. Mira stepped back, suddenly uncertain. You're not what you appear to be. No Nulvari has ever bothered to truly understand humans, Han said quietly. You see our physical weakness and dismiss us. That was your mistake. Dr. Mira reached for her communication device, but Han moved with unexpected speed, pressing a small patch to her neck. Her eyes widened, then rolled back as she collapsed. The dose won't kill you, Han said to her unconscious form. But you'll sleep until this is over. Han returned to his preparations. In a few hours, the Nulvari would learn that they had imprisoned 4 humans, but had missed the most dangerous one. The Nulvari battlecruiser docked with Commander Vex's ship at exactly midnight Earth time. Han watched from a maintenance tunnel as alien soldiers marched down the corridors. There were hundreds of them, all armed and dangerous. Any normal person would have given up, but Han was not normal. All systems ready, he whispered into a small communication device. Still think this is suicide? Captain Park's voice came back. But we're ready. Han checked his watch. 3 minutes until the air filtration system would release his compound throughout the ship. The chemical was harmless to humans, but would affect the Nulvari breathing system. Not enough to harm them permanently, but enough to cause confusion. Ambassador Kim, are you in position? Han asked. Yes, Her voice was steady, near the communication center as requested. Dr. Lee. In the engine room. Guards are everywhere, but they still think I'm working on their systems. Dr. Sue. Medical Bay. I secured the supplies you asked for. Han took a deep breath. Remember, when your collars deactivate, move exactly as planned. No heroics. No direct confrontation. At exactly 12:05, a soft hiss went through the ventilation system. The effect was almost immediate. Throughout the ship, Nulveri began to blink rapidly, their movements becoming uncoordinated as the compound affected their neural pathways. Han moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels to the ship's main control room. The Nulveri guards were disoriented, making it easy for him to slip past them. Inside, he found Commander Vex trying to understand what was happening. What's wrong with everyone? Vex demanded of his officers. Why can't I connect to the neural network? Han stepped into the room, no longer hiding his true nature. The network is temporarily disabled, Commander. Vex turned, his eyes widening in shock. You? The weak human. That's what you were meant to think, Han said calmly. He held up a small device. This sends a frequency that disrupts your neural implants. Right now, none of your soldiers can receive your commands. Vex lunged at Han, his forearms reaching out to grab him. But Han moved with surprising speed, dodging the attack and pressing a button on his device. Throughout the ship, the human collars deactivated simultaneously. In the detention area, Captain Park immediately took down 2 confused guards. Ambassador Kim reached the communication center and began broadcasting a carefully crafted message to the battlecruiser. Dr. Lee accessed the engine controls, locking out the Nulveri engineers. What have you done? Commander Vex demanded, trying again to catch Han. I studied you, Han replied, staying just out of reach. While you dismissed me as weak, I learned everything about your biology, your technology, your weaknesses. Vex's skin darkened with rage. One small human cannot defeat an empire. I don't need to defeat your empire, Han said. Just you. He pressed another button on his device. The ship's main screen activated, showing camera feeds from throughout the vessel. Nulveri soldiers were collapsing as a second compound released into the air. This one affects only your species, Han explained. It targets the calcium channels in your neural system. Your people will sleep for approximately 6 hours. Plenty of time for us to take control. Vex stared at Han with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How? You were nothing. The weakest human. And that's why I was the most dangerous, Han said. You watched the strong humans, the obvious threats. You never watched me. Han had one more surprise. From his pocket, he took a small spray bottle and used it directly on Commander Vex. The Nulveri leader tried to fight but soon collapsed to the floor. Security teams, report, Han said into his communication device. All clear in Section 1. Captain Park responded. Guards are unconscious. Communication center secured. Ambassador Kim added. I've established contact with the battlecruiser. They're confused and demanding answers. Han looked down at the unconscious Commander Vex. Tell them their commander will speak with them shortly. We have some demands to discuss. 6 hours later, Commander Vex woke up. He found himself tied to a chair in his own meeting room. Han sat across from him, calmly making notes on a tablet. The rest of the human delegation stood nearby. What have you done to my ship? My crew? Vex demanded, struggling against his restraints. Your crew is fine, Han said without looking up. They're all secured in the cargo bay. Your battlecruiser is now under our control as well. Captain Park stepped forward. We've disabled your weapon systems and locked out all command functions. Vex's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. How could primitive humans take control of advanced Nulveri technology? Han finally looked up from his tablet. Because you taught us how. I taught you nothing. Vex spat. Oh, but you did, Han said, his voice calm. Every time you dismissed me as weak, You gave me more freedom to observe. Every time you spoke freely in front of me, assuming I couldn't understand, you gave me information. Han stood up and walked to a screen on the wall. He pressed a button, showing images of Earth. You plan to destroy my world, Han said, to use humans as genetic material and discard the rest. Your species is inferior, Vex said boldly. The strong survive in this galaxy. Han smiled slightly. That's where you're wrong, Commander. It's not the strongest who survive. It's those who adapt, those who understand their enemies. Ambassador Kim stepped forward. While you were unconscious, we contacted your superiors on the battlecruiser. They were quite interested to hear what we found in your computer files. Vex's skin darkened with anger. You spoke to the High Command. We did, she continued. They were surprised to learn that you had planned to claim all the credit for discovering human genetic compatibility with Nulvari, that you would keep the best specimens for your personal research. That's a lie, Vex shouted. Han held up a data device. No, it's what your private logs say. The logs Dr. Mira helped me access. Dr. Mira entered the room, her face showing shame. I have confirmed to the High Command that these records are authentic, Commander. I was wrong to help you. Vex stared at her in shock. You betrayed me. For these weak creatures. They are not weak, Dr. Mira said quietly. This human, she pointed at Han, showed me the truth. He could have killed me when I discovered him. Instead, he showed mercy and explained their plan. Han turned to face Vex directly. You see, Commander, humans have something the Nulvari don't understand. We know that true strength isn't always physical. Sometimes it's the ability to observe, to think, to plan. While Captain Park tried to fight his way out and failed, I studied your biology and created compounds that specifically target Nulvari neural pathways, Han continued. While you focused on the humans you thought were dangerous, you gave the most dangerous one complete access to your ship. Vex looked at Han with new understanding and growing fear. You played me from the beginning. Yes, Han admitted. From the moment we met, I made sure you saw me as the weakest human, the one not worth watching. Captain Park laughed. And I never knew. None of us did. We thought you were just a scientist. That was the point, Han said. Even my own people needed to believe I was weak so that their reactions would be genuine. Han leaned close to Commander Vex. The Nulvari made one critical mistake. You assumed physical strength was the only kind of strength that mattered. You never considered that appearing weak might be a strategy. Vex stared at Han, finally understanding. You're not a scientist at all, are you? I am a scientist, Han replied. But I'm also many other things, just as humanity is more than you believed us to be. Dr. Mira stepped forward. The High Command wishes to speak with both of you. They are reconsidering their approach to Earth. Han nodded. Good. It's time we had an honest conversation about the future. The main bridge of the Nulvari battlecruiser was massive. Screens covered the walls, showing stars, planets, and the status of the ship. 10 high-ranking Nulvari officers sat at a long table. At one end stood Han and Ambassador Kim. Your evidence against Commander Vex is troubling, said Supreme Commander Tark, the leader of the Nulvari fleet. His silver skin had dark patches showing his age and rank. But it does not change the fact that humans are physically inferior, another officer added. You remain a resource to be used. Han stepped forward. I believe we've proven that physical strength is not the only measure of a species. Ambassador Kim opened a small case she had brought with her. Inside were 5 small vials containing different colored liquids. What are those? Supreme Commander Tark demanded. Insurance, Han replied calmly. While on your ship, I created several compounds specifically designed to target Nulvari biology. The room went silent. The Nulvari officers stared at the vials. The blue one, Han continued, affects your neural network permanently. The red one targets your respiratory system. The green one would make your species sterile within 1 generation. You're bluffing. one officer said, but his voice trembled. Han smiled slightly. The compound I released on Commander Vex's ship disabled your soldiers in minutes. I've had weeks to study your biology, your weaknesses. Dr. Mira was very helpful, though she didn't realize what I was learning. Dr. Mira, who stood near the door, lowered her head. Are you threatening the Nulvari Empire? Supreme Commander Tark asked, his voice dangerous. I'm offering a choice, Ambassador Kim said smoothly. A real alliance between equals or mutual destruction. You would destroy yourselves too, an officer shouted. Han shook his head. These compounds only affect Nulvari physiology, and we've already introduced them into the ventilation systems of both ships. This was a bluff, but the Nulvari didn't know that. Their faces showed fear for the first time. Additionally, Han continued, I sent the formulas to Earth with instructions to release them if we don't return safely. Captain Park and Dr. Lee entered the bridge, escorted by 2 Nulvari guards who looked nervous. Your battle cruiser's engines are now under our control, Dr. Lee announced. I've modified your systems with a few improvements I designed while working on your ship. Supreme Commander Tark looked from one human to another, his expression unreadable. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. Remarkable, he said. Truly remarkable. In all our conquests across 12 star systems, no species has ever turned our own strengths against us so effectively. He stood up and approached Han. You were right. We misjudged humans. We saw your physical weakness and dismissed you as inferior. But you have demonstrated a different kind of strength. Ambassador Kim stepped forward. Then you are open to real negotiations. As equals. The Supreme Commander looked at his officers, who nodded reluctantly. Yes, he said finally. The Nulvari Empire will negotiate with Earth as equals. We have much to learn from each other, it seems. Later, as the humans prepared to return to Commander Vex's ship with the new treaty agreement, Dr. Mira approached Han privately. The compounds, she said quietly. They don't really exist, do they? Not all of them. Han looked at her with the same calm expression he had maintained throughout their time together. Does it matter? He asked. The threat worked. You are the most dangerous human I've ever encountered, she said with newfound respect. Not because you're physically strong, but because you understand how to use an enemy's assumptions against them. Han nodded. The greatest weapon humans have is not our technology or our strength. It's our ability to adapt, to observe, and to understand our opponents better than they understand themselves. As they walked away, Captain Park joined Han. Did you really create all those biological weapons? Han smiled slightly. What do you think? Captain Park shook his head with newfound respect. I think the Nulvari were right to fear us after all, just not for the reasons they thought. 1 month later, the human delegation prepared to return to Earth. The Nulvari had provided one of their fastest ships as a gesture of goodwill. On the landing bay, Supreme Commander Tark and several high-ranking Nulvari officers came to see them off. The treaty we have signed today marks a new chapter in galactic relations, Supreme Commander Tark announced. Humans and Nulvari will now work together as equals. Ambassador Kim nodded. Earth looks forward to peaceful cooperation and shared knowledge. Commander Vex stood nearby, his once proud posture now humbled. He had been demoted but allowed to live, partly due to Han's suggestion that killing him would create unnecessary tensions. As the other humans said their goodbyes, Vex approached Han, who stood quietly observing the proceedings. I still don't understand, Vex said, his voice low. How did one human defeat an entire Nulvari ship? Han looked at him thoughtfully. I didn't do it alone. Each human played their part. But you were the architect, Vex insisted. The one we all underestimated. Han nodded. That was your mistake. You saw humans as individuals to be measured by physical strength. But our true power comes from working together and using our minds. Vex's 4 hands made a gesture of grudging respect. The Nulvari Empire has conquered 12 star systems, No one has ever outmaneuvered us this way. No one ever needed to before, Han replied. You never gave them the chance to negotiate as equals. Dr. Mira joined them, carrying a small container. A gift, she said, handing it to Han. Samples of Nulvari medical technology that might benefit humans. Han accepted it with a slight bow. Thank you. I've left something for you as well. My research notes on cross-species biology. There's much our peoples can learn from each other. Supreme Commander Tark approached them. The High Council has asked me to extend an invitation. We would welcome human scientists to study at our academies, and Nulvari students would like to visit Earth. I believe that can be arranged, Ambassador Kim said with a smile. As they prepared to board their ship, Captain Park pulled Han aside. Earth Command wants to know something, he said quietly. Did you really create all those biological weapons you threatened them with? Han looked at the captain with calm eyes. I created prototypes that proved the concept was possible. The rest was, he paused, diplomatic leverage. Captain Park laughed. In other words, you bluffed the most powerful empire in this sector of the galaxy. Sometimes the perception of strength is more powerful than strength itself, Han replied. As they boarded the ship, Dr. Su approached Han. Will you return to military intelligence when we get home? Han shook his head. No, I think I'll go back to research. There's much to learn about the galaxy now. The ship's engines hummed to life. Through the viewports, they could see the Nulvari officers making their formal salute, all four arms crossed in a gesture of respect. Commander Vex stood apart from the others, his eyes fixed on Han until the last moment. As the ship lifted off, he made a personal gesture, a subtle movement that in Nulvari culture acknowledged an equal. In space, as Earth appeared as a blue dot in the distance, the human delegation gathered on the bridge. So what happens now? Dr. Lee asked. Now, Ambassador Kim said, humanity joins the galactic community as equals, not as conquered subjects. Han stood quietly by the viewport, watching the stars. Captain Park joined him. You know, the captain said, this mission report will change how we prepare for alien contact forever. The strongest warriors might not be the best choice after all. Han smiled slightly. Strength takes many forms, Captain. The Nulvari learned that lesson the hard way. As their ship approached Earth, Han thought about the message that would spread throughout the galaxy. Beware the humans, especially the ones who seem weak. They might just be the most dangerous of all.